Get ready for a magical journey tonight with the Cinderella story on Little Dream Weaver. Once upon a time, there was a rich gentleman who lived happily with his wife. Together, they had a lovely young daughter. Unfortunately, the wife fell ill, and knowing she was near death, called her daughter to her bedside. "Dear child," she said, "always be good and pious, and then the good God will always protect you, and I will look down on you from heaven and be near you." With that, she closed her eyes and passed away. The girl went every day to her mother's grave and wept, and she remained pious and good. When winter came, the snow spread a white cloth over the grave, and when the spring sun had removed it again, the man took himself another wife. The new wife brought 2 daughters into the house with her. They were beautiful, with fair faces, but evil and dark hearts. Times soon turned bad for the poor stepchild. "Why should that stupid goose sit in the parlor with us?" the stepsisters would say. "If she wants to eat bread, then she'll have to earn it. Out with Cinderella, she's just a kitchen maid." So they took away her fine clothes, gave her an old gray frock to wear, and tied her beautiful hair up under a kerchief. Then they mocked her and led her into the kitchen. From then on, she was forced to do hard work from morning till night, get up before dawn, carry water, make the fires, cook, and wash. Besides that, the sisters did everything imaginable to hurt her. They made fun of her, scattered peas and lentils into the ashes, so she had to sit and pick them out again. In the evenings, when she was tired from work, she had no bed to lie on, but had to sleep by the hearth among the cinders. And because she always looked dusty and dirty, they called her Cinderella. It happened that the father was once going to the fair, and he asked his 2 stepdaughters what he should bring back for them. "Beautiful dresses," said one. "Pearls and jewels," said the other. "And you, Cinderella," he said, "what do you want?" "Father, break off for me the first twig that knocks against your hat on your way home." So he bought beautiful dresses, pearls, and jewels for his 2 stepdaughters. And on his way home, as he was riding through a green thicket, a hazel twig struck against his hat. He broke it off and took it with him. When he reached home, he gave his stepdaughters what they had asked for, and to Cinderella, he gave the hazel twig. Cinderella thanked him, went to her mother's grave, and planted the twig on it. She watered it with her tears, and it grew into a beautiful tree. Cinderella went to the tree 3 times every day, and beneath it, she wept and prayed. A white bird came to the tree every time, and whenever she expressed a wish, the bird threw down to her what she had wished for. Now it happened that the king appointed a festival that was to last 3 days, and to which all the beautiful young girls in the country were invited, so that his son could select a bride from among them. When the 2 stepsisters heard that they too were to appear among the number, they were in high spirits. They called Cinderella and said, "Comb our hair, brush our shoes, and fasten our buckles. We're going to the festival at the king's castle." Cinderella obeyed, but wept, because she too would have liked to go to the dance. She begged her stepmother to allow her to go. "You, Cinderella," she said, "you're covered in dust and dirt. You want to go to the festival? You have no clothes and shoes, and yet you want to dance?" As Cinderella continued to ask, the stepmother finally said, "I've thrown a dish of lentils into the ashes. If you can pick them out again in 2 hours, then you may go with us." The girl went through the back door into the garden and called out, "You tame pigeons, you turtle doves, and all you birds beneath the sky, come and help me pick these lentils up so slick, the good ones in the pot, the bad ones in your crop." Then 2 white pigeons came in through the kitchen window, and afterward the turtle doves, and finally all the birds beneath the sky came whirring and swarming in and lighted among the ashes. The pigeons nodded with their heads and began to pick, 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 and the others also began to pick, 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 and put all the good grains into the dish. Hardly an hour had passed before they had finished, and they all flew out again. Then the girl carried the dish to her stepmother, feeling joyful and thinking that now she would be allowed to go with them to the festival. But the stepmother said, "No, Cinderella, you have no clothes and you don't know how to dance. Everyone would only laugh at you." And when Cinderella begged to go once more, she said, "If you can pick 2 dishes of lentils out of the ashes for me in 1 hour, then you may go with us." So the girl went again through the back door into the garden and called out, "You tame pigeons, you turtle doves, and all you birds beneath the sky, come and help me pick these lentils up so slick, the good ones in the pot, the bad ones in your crop." Then 2 white pigeons came in through the kitchen window, and afterward the turtle doves, and finally all the birds beneath the sky came whirring and swarming in and lighted among the ashes. The pigeons nodded with their heads and began to pick, 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 and the others also began to pick, 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 and put all the good grains into the dishes. Before half an hour had passed, they had finished, and they all flew out again. Then the girl carried the dishes to her stepmother, feeling joyful, and thinking that now she would be allowed to go with them to the festival. But the stepmother said, "It's no use. You can't go with us. You have no clothes, and you don't know how to dance. We would be ashamed of you." With that, she turned her back on Cinderella and hurried away with her 2 proud daughters. As no one was now at home, Cinderella went to her mother's grave beneath the hazel tree and cried out, "Shake and quiver, little tree, throw gold and silver down to me." Then the bird threw a gold and silver dress down to her, and slippers embroidered with silk and silver. She quickly put on the dress and went to the festival. Her stepsisters and stepmother did not recognize her and thought she must be a foreign princess, for she looked so beautiful in the golden dress. They never once thought of Cinderella and believed that she was sitting. The king's son approached her, took her by the hand, and danced with her. He would dance with no one else, and if anyone else asked her, he would say, "She is my partner." She danced until it was evening, and then she wanted to go home. But the king's son said, "I'll go along and escort you," for he wanted to see where the beautiful maiden lived. However, she slipped away from him and ran into the garden behind her father's house. there stood a fine tree bearing splendid pears. She climbed quickly up like a squirrel and sat in the branches. The king's son did not know where she had gone and waited until her father came. He said to him, "The unknown maiden has eluded me, and I believe she has climbed up into the pear tree." The father thought, "Can it be Cinderella?" and had an axe brought to cut the tree down. But no one was there. When they went into the house, Cinderella was lying in her dirty clothes among the cinders, and a dim little oil lamp was burning on the mantelpiece. For Cinderella had quickly jumped down from the back of the pear tree, had taken the beautiful clothes off, and laid them near the hazel tree, and the bird had taken them away again. Then she had put on her little gray frock again, and had sat down in the kitchen among the ashes. The next day, when the festival began anew, and her parents and stepsisters had gone once more, Cinderella went to the hazel tree and said, "Shake and quiver, little tree, throw gold and silver down to me." Then the bird threw down an even more magnificent dress than on the preceding day. And when Cinderella appeared at the festival in this dress, everyone was astonished at her beauty. The king's son had waited until she came, and instantly took her by the hand and danced with no one but her. When others came and asked her to dance, he said as before, "She is my partner." When evening came, she wished to leave, and the king's son tried to escort her, but she ran away from him so quickly that he could not follow her. However, he had laid a trap, for he had caused the entire stairway to be smeared with pitch. As Cinderella ran down, her left slipper got caught in the pitch. The king's son picked it up, and it was small and dainty, made of gold. Next morning, he went to the father and said to him, "No one shall be my bride except the one whose foot this golden slipper fits." The two sisters were happy to hear this, for they had beautiful feet. The eldest went with the shoe into her room and wanted to try it on, and her mother stood by. But she could not get her big toe into it, for the shoe was too small. Then her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut off your toe. When you are queen, you will have no more need to go on foot." So the girl cut off her toe, squeezed her foot into the shoe, concealed the pain, and went out to the king's son. He took her as his bride and rode away with her. They passed by the grave, and there sat the two pigeons on the hazel tree and cried out, "There they go, there they go. There's the blood in the shoe. The shoe is too tight. The bride is not right." Then the prince looked at her shoe and saw the blood flowing. He turned his horse around and took the false bride home again, saying she was not the right one, and that the other sister should try on the shoe. Then he looked at her shoe and saw the blood running. He turned his horse around and took the false bride home again. "This is not the right one," he said. "Have you no other daughter?" "No," said the man. "Only my dead wife left behind her a little stunted Cinderella, whom my late wife loved more than all the world." The king's son said, "I will go and see her," and they took Cinderella with them. When she presented herself with the golden shoe, she was able to put her foot into it, and the shoe fit her as if it had been made for her. Then, in her astonishment, she looked up and saw that the bird was no other than her godmother, who had taken on this form to help her. The bird took the golden shoe from her and gave her back her plain shoe and her old clothes, returned her into her former appearance. And now the king's son approached, embraced Cinderella, and said, "You are my true bride, and no one else in the world shall be my wife." Cinderella was taken to the king's castle and married to him, and there she lived happily ever after. Thank you for joining us on this enchanting journey through Cinderella. Don't forget to subscribe for more magical story readings, and stay tuned for our next fairy tale adventure.